On the morning of June 22, 1941, the silence across Europe shattered. From the Baltic to the Black Sea, more than 3 million German soldiers, supported by thousands of tanks, aircraft, and artillery guns, surged forward in a colossal wave of destruction. It was called Operation Barbarossa, and Adolf Hitler believed it would be his greatest triumph. History would remember it instead as his greatest mistake. For 2 years, Nazi Germany had swept through Europe like a storm. Poland collapsed. France fell in weeks. Norway, the Low Countries, the Balkans, all had been crushed. To many, Hitler seemed unstoppable. But power often blinds the powerful. And in Hitler's mind, there remained one enemy he believed must be destroyed: the Soviet Union. His generals warned him. His intelligence was flawed. His logistics were weak. But Hitler was convinced the Red Army would collapse just like France. He saw the Soviet Union as slow, primitive, and poorly led. To him, defeating it would be easy, a campaign of a few months. He promised his officers, "We have only to kick in the door, and the whole rotten structure will collapse." He could not have been more wrong. As the German army thundered eastward, the initial results seemed to support Hitler's confidence. Soviet defenses shattered. Hundreds of thousands of Soviet soldiers were captured in massive encirclements. Entire divisions ceased to exist. German propaganda celebrated daily victories. It looked like history was repeating itself. Another lightning-fast German conquest. But what Hitler failed to understand was this: he had awakened a giant. The Soviet Union did not collapse. It adapted, it mobilized, it retreated strategically, trading land for time. Factories were dismantled and transported thousands of kilometers east beyond German reach. Women, elderly men, and even teenagers joined the war effort. Entire cities stood ready to fight to the last breath. The war was no longer a campaign. It had become a struggle for survival. And then came the Russian winter, a force Hitler arrogantly ignored. German soldiers advanced in summer uniforms, confident they wouldn't need to fight past autumn. Their vehicles froze, their weapons jammed, temperatures plunged below 100 degrees C. Food ran out, fuel thickened, horses died in the snow. Frostbite claimed thousands of lives without a single Soviet bullet being fired. Meanwhile, the Red Army struck back. Fresh Soviet divisions, equipped for winter and fueled by fierce determination, launched counterattacks that stunned the Germans. For the first time in the war, the Wehrmacht, once seen as invincible, was forced to retreat. But Hitler refused to accept reality. He interfered with his generals, forced irrational orders, and demanded his troops fight to the last man rather than withdraw to safety. His ego became deadlier than any weapon. Then came Stalingrad. What began as another push turned into one of the bloodiest battles in human history. Hitler wanted the city not just for strategy, but for pride. It bore Stalin's name. The fighting was brutal, fought street by street, room by room, sometimes even hand to hand. By winter, the German Sixth Army was surrounded, starving, freezing, desperate. Hitler promised rescue. None came. In February 1943, the German army surrendered. Over 300,000 German soldiers were lost. The psychological impact was catastrophic. The myth of German invincibility was shattered forever. From that point on, Nazi Germany was no longer advancing, it was bleeding. The Eastern Front became a graveyard. Millions of German troops were consumed, resources drained. Aircraft, tanks, ammunition, fuel. Everything poured east, leaving Germany vulnerable elsewhere. Hitler had created a war he could not sustain, against an enemy he underestimated, on land he never truly understood. Historians agree this was the decision that destroyed Nazi Germany. By opening the Eastern Front, Hitler stretched his forces too thin. He created a war of attrition he could never win. He turned a strategic conflict into an ideological crusade driven by arrogance and hatred. The Soviet Union's resilience, combined with Hitler's refusal to listen to his generals, sealed Germany's fate. The cost was unimaginable. The Eastern Front became the deadliest battlefield in human history. Civilians suffered. Cities burned. Entire generations were lost. And in the end, the decision Hitler believed would secure his empire became the decision that ensured its destruction. On April 30th, 1945, as Soviet troops closed in on Berlin, Adolf Hitler sat in a bunker beneath his collapsing Reich. The empire he dreamed of had crumbled. The army he believed unbeatable was broken. The war he thought he could control had consumed him. And it all began with one catastrophic decision: to invade the Soviet Union. History teaches many lessons, but this one echoes louder than most. Arrogance destroys, overconfidence blinds, and in war, the greatest enemy is often the belief that you cannot lose. Operation Barbarossa was not just a military failure. It was the turning point that doomed Nazi Germany, the day Adolf Hitler sealed his own fate.